Now, your gut and thyroid are closely connected and they influence each other in both directions. So, the gut is home to trillions of microorganisms. So, this is the gut microbiome that you hear a lot of people talk about. This is what helps digest food, absorb nutrients, and regulate the immune system. So, these microbes, they play a role in making thyroid hormone by ensuring you absorb these key nutrients like iodine, selenium, zinc. These are all essential for thyroid health. And if your gut is unhealthy, this is a condition called gut dysbiosis. It can reduce nutrient absorption, disrupting this production, increasing inflammation, which then may worsen thyroid problems. Now, how does the thyroid affect the gut? Now, these hormones, thyroid hormones, help keep your digestion running smoothly by regulating how quickly food moves through your digestive system. Now, when thyroid function is low, hypothyroidism, your gut slows down, leading to constipation, poor nutrient absorption, and possible inflammation. Now, this also needs to be a key consideration when we're talking about individuals who are using something like a GLP-1 or a comparable drug, because this in turn will slow gastric emptying. It will slow the rate in which food moves through the gut. It doesn't necessarily mean that's problematic, and keep in mind, there are a lot of GLP-1s that are approved for weight loss, but we can't overlook the impact of delayed gastric emptying and how that can affect an athlete who may already have some kind of thyroid dysfunction. But I'll save that for another video. When thyroid function is too high, so hyperthyroidism, this can speed up digestion, leading to diarrhea, nutrient loss, and dehydration. So when the gut is unhealthy, gut dysbiosis, we see decreased nutrient absorption. So those key nutrients like iodine, selenium, iron, and zinc, they're poorly absorbed when the gut isn't functioning well. And these are all essential for making thyroid hormone. We also see increased gut permeability. This is what we call leaky gut, when the gut lining becomes too leaky, where toxins and bacteria can then escape into the bloodstream, triggering inflammation. Now, this can worsen autoimmune thyroid conditions like Hashimoto's. Now, across the board, I would say the most wide-reaching is hormonal imbalance, because stress and the gut problems can reduce the activity of thyroid hormones, making you feel tired and sluggish, elevating cortisol, impacting normal circadian rhythm. Now, how do we improve this interconnected relationship between the gut and the thyroid? There are nutritional strategies and lifestyle strategies. Both are non-pharmacological because we would prefer to take those interventions prior to introducing a medication. But the nutritional strategies would be eating enough calories and maintaining healthy body fat levels. So you have to understand that extreme calorie deficits, very low body fat, this is a high stress on both the thyroid and the gut. So ensuring that if we are going to be at very low body fats, or we're going to be in extreme calorie deficits, that we are doing so with intention and only for the necessitated amount of time. Another big one, prioritizing fruits and veggies. So aiming for 400 to 800 grams daily to provide fiber and antioxidant support for gut health. Now, ideally, this does come from whole food sources. If you do need to supplement, if you find that there are holes in your nutrient values, then yeah, adding those in to supplement your diet, amazing. This is particularly important for the physique athlete or for someone who may be in a calorie deficit and isn't able to be as lax with that fruit and veggie intake. But I would say largely across the board, you're going to be better off by getting these from whole food sources. Next, adding in omega-3 fatty acids. These can be found in fish or supplements. Most people are going to recommend 1 to 2 grams daily to help reduce inflammation. I think for the individual who is already experiencing some kind of dysbiosis, whose immune system is already on the weaker side, who is already a little more sensitive, so particularly when you're at low body fats, I think pushing this to 4 or 5, even 6 grams, if you can tolerate it, would be preferred. Now, not sponsored with them, but I did used to work for them. Legion Athletics has a really good fish oil called Triton. They have a ton of affiliates. So you just have to go to their page and find one of their affiliates. I know Will Kemp, he has a discount code. Highly recommend. Their sourcing is top tier. I think it's 4 grams in one serving. So if you wanted to do 1.5, that could very well be reasonable. Next is avoiding processed foods and sugar. Now, I am a big fan of highly palatable food. I do like desserts. I'm not one of those girls that's like, oh, I just can go forever and eat very bland foods. I do like very bland foods, but I digress. When we're talking about someone who's trying to correct very quickly gut dysbiosis and inflammation, it's through an elimination of these aggravating foods that I think you can get a lot of progress very quickly. So in the case that you are eating packaged foods, replace this with something that is more natural, like fruits, like vegetables. It's not to say you have to do this forever, but especially in heightened states of inflammation or in states where you're experiencing a lot of dysbiosis in the gut, I would recommend being a little more intentional with these food choices. Now, lifestyle tips: managing stress, sleeping well, reducing training volume. The stress is going to be a thing, like chronic stress. It's going to harm both the gut health and thyroid function. So being very mindful. And I know I was one of those people, like, for the longest time, like, I don't really resonate with journaling. I don't really resonate with meditation. This doesn't have to be the conventional sense of like what you think of, where you're like, oh, I need to go and like lock myself in a room for 20 minutes and just stare at the ceiling or whatever. Like, I was very resistant to the idea of meditation. And I think when I started to reframe it as like, hey, these are just breaks that are scheduled throughout the day where you are forcing yourself to turn your brain off and get in touch with how your body's feeling physically. And this can be as simple as like writing down, like, I'm feeling very anxious. I'm feeling very uncomfortable, and trying to be very specific with the feelings themselves. Identifying them, labeling them is a very helpful tool. I do tell clients who are struggling with like high degrees of stress, I'm like, if you can't if you can be on track, if you can be adherent, if you can do your cardio, I want you to treat meditation, or let's just call it mindfulness, or some kind of, I don't know, presence practice where you just force yourself to think about how you're feeling. That's all I'm asking. 5 minutes, a couple times a day. You do have the time. I think realistically, and I'm guilty of this myself, would be like, I don't want to do this because I like the feeling of being very focused, very go, go, go. But I think that this is especially important for individuals who feel a little overwhelmed with their stress. They don't feel like they have the ability to modify the environment, or they don't have the ability to pull back from maybe the overarching stressor that is, at the highest magnitude. Planning these things. If it's like, hey, I'm going to be in the car and I'm not going to scroll on Instagram, or I'm not going to go to YouTube, I'm just going to get into my notes app and I'm going to try to journal a little bit. I'm just going to write about like what's going on. It can sound cheesy, but I do think that this is helpful. Sleep, aiming for 7 to 9 hours per night. This is fundamental. I mean, like I've said this a few times, but like if you have any problems in life physiologically, if you're having issues with weight gain, not being able to build muscle, stress, just overall feeling fatigued, brain fog, yes, we're going to coin that, brain fog, anything of that nature, any kind of dysregulation, prioritize your sleep. I was that person that was so like stubbornly like, I don't know, I'm so cool, I can only get like 6 hours of sleep because I'm just so busy. You're not that cool. Like, you're not that cool. Just force yourself to get 7 to 9 hours. And like, if you're really like beating the shit out of your body because like you're training your ass off, maybe aim to get 9 to 10 if your schedule allows it. Like if you have the capacity a couple nights a week to really indulge and like not set a timer, like this is self-care. That's a gift to you. And I know some of y'all are like, I've got kids, I've got jobs, like I can't do that. I'm going to school and I have kids and I have a job. Some of y'all are just warriors. I'm not saying it's going to be practical every night. I'm saying where you can tidy up, if it's like another 30 minutes, or if it's like, hey, I only got 6-7 hours a night, maybe I have an opportunity to get a little nap in later today, or even just scale back some of the stimulus and the output later in the day. That's what I'd recommend. Hardly ever do I recommend reducing training volume unless someone is like just completely, in the gutter and like their hormones are really in a position where it's like, that's kind of all we can do at this point. So I would say post-contest, especially, that's going to be an opportunity to scale back or even like shift some of the modalities of training from ones that at the end of contest prep, you're going to be using a lot of modalities that have a lot of external bracing. So a lot of machines, not a lot of ones that require a lot of, stability. And within this, what we can do is find ways that allow you to continue to train and progress, but are not so systemically fatiguing. And I think specifically coming out of a fat loss phase or coming out of, a really stressful time period, even if you aren't a build, just giving your body the permission to like kind of deload and taking some of that stimulus, which is anything that drives fatigue, that can be helpful for both gut and thyroid. So also including rest and lighter training days as needed.